let me ask you this.
Cool.
It doesn't matter if it's horizontal. Is it okay horizontal,
Yeah,
or
it's
should I make it?
perfect. It's better like
It's
that.
okay.
This one is excellent. Yeah.
Okay, let me.
Yeah, yeah.
I've
Take
got
your time.
a.
Take your time.
Okay, yeah, I've got something to
No worries.
charge
I'll
this
wait
thing.
for the dragon. No worries.
Oh well.
Yo, yes, perfect.
Bruno.
Martial artists have a
Okay.
a long history of not being very good with nerdy stuff because we went out and do other stuff like I don't know, meeting chicks, punching the bag, getting our
So
protein.
I will tell you what my reasoning is on my helplessness to
In
do
high tech.
anything. I have had quote people for years, all my whole life. I've never had a job. My last real job was I was a bartender and a manager of a nightclub, and that was in the early 70s.
Wow, you're a bouncer as
That's the
well?
last job I had. The other jobs I've had, when I'm on a movie set, there's a million people running around saying, "Uh
See?
oh,
Everybody wants the dragon.
the other phone's going." Now, how do I turn that down?
Pick it up, pick it up.
I'm not even going to answer this thing.
I think it's Roger Corman. You got to pick it up.
Oh shoot! What is?
It's Chuck Norris now.
No, that would pop up. It is some stranger that we don't know, and I'm not gonna know. But
Do you
anyway, I was saying,
yeah, yeah,
I've had people do everything for me. Literally, when I was acting, I had a personal manager, entertainment attorney, agent, two assistants, publicist. Um,
yeah.
well,
A whole,
I
a
mean,
whole.
all on salary plus percentages.
Wow.
You
Okay.
know,
Yeah.
and yeah, I knew I was doing something wrong when I went into my business manager. And yeah, entertainment attorney. But anyway, and he was talking about next year's contracts, and he said, I, I said, well, we should have plenty of money in there. I said, I did like 3 movies this year, and he said, well, your overhead is 40,000 a month. And I thought to myself, what? I didn't I never totaled up anything that was costing me. My overhead was 40,000 a month, and all I was just an actor. That's it. What?
Wow, that's like Janet Jackson's overhead, like with a whole
No,
entourage.
no, no. You heard of the guy MC Hammer?
Fresh new kicks and bands. You got it like that. Now you know you want to dance. So move out of your seat.
Oh yeah, sure, yeah.
MC.
Can't touch this.
Okay,
Boom,
his
ba-da.
overhead was 400,000 a month.
Oh,
Four hundred thousand.
that is why he was broke
Because
after, right? It was
well,
like
look,
a
one of the
famous
things
story.
he did was I did as well. When you first start making money publicly, because
Yeah.
look, if I was a normal person and I start getting successful in my career, nobody would know about it, right? Nobody goes into your tax forms and checks out how much money you're making. But when you're like MC Hammer, they see him at the Grammys and they hear his music on the radio and they think, he's rich. And everybody starts calling you wanting to borrow money.
Oh yeah. Oh
That's
okay.
basic. And not only that, but people like from a high school, and I did. I gave out a lot of money. My inclination is to help people, and people. I supposedly own property in Las Vegas. I have businesses I've started over. I've
Wow.
yeah, money went out. Let's put it that way. When you've never really had money, then all of a sudden you have millions of dollars coming in.
Uh huh.
It's holding on to it's not easy.
Yeah. So it just
You
shows
know,
how generous you are. But such crazy times, huh?
no, it wasn't just me. One of my friends was Mickey Rourke, and I went in there
Oh.
complaining to Mickey Rourke that I had made $2 million like the year before, and I had none of it. It was all gone. I had no idea where it was. And he looked at me like he was going to punch me, and he goes, "Don, He goes, I've made $20 million as an actor. He goes, I don't have a dime. I'm living on top of my gym.
Oh my goodness.
And this was when Mickey Rourke in the '80s. When I first met him,
He was the shit.
he was like one of the top up and coming actors. I mean, he had that movie, and when we would go out at night, all the girls would come to Mickey, and I got his scraps. 9.5 weeks. He did a movie called 9.5 Weeks,
Nine and a
and
half
this
weeks,
shows
yeah.
you people are kind of crazy. They think what they see on the screen is how you really are. He's nothing like that guy on 9.5 Weeks.
How is he? How is he then? What's deferring? I mean,
You know
yeah,
what?
9.5 weeks.
Let me tell you, he is the greatest friend, loyal
Mm-hmm.
you could ever have if you're a man.
Okay.
But I tell people, if I had a sister and Mickey Rourke wanted to go out with her, I'd have to kill him because he's not good. I just don't think he treats his women with respect. Let's put it that way.
Okay,
His
okay.
female relationships, he's not. And it's not my business anyway. I don't care what somebody does with their wife or girlfriend. It's not my business. But I'm just saying, as a guy, he's a very loyal friend. Very
Nice.
loyal friend.
Nice,
We had the
nice.
same boxing trainer. That's how we met.
Okay.
When I first moved to LA, I got this boxing trainer in Watts named Bill Slayton, and he used to train Ken Norton.
Yeah.
And my first day in the gym, I met Mickey. Mickey was there the first day I went to the gym.
Did he know who you were back then?
I never asked him. I never said, hey, when you met me, did you know? But he was introduced to me as this is a kickboxing champion. In fact, when I went to the boxing gym, it was in Watts. It's an all-black gym.
Wow.
And I'm like closest thing to white there. So I go in, and the very first day, everybody wanted to spar me. They hear, kickboxing champions here. Basically, what they want to do is, and listen, I have no grudges against anybody for that because I've been having gym wars, kickboxers and boxers traditionally in the 70s when I first started. I started fighting professionally in 1974. But in those days, they'd never heard of it, and they'd say, he's a light heavyweight champion. Well, I fought J.B. Williamson, who was the boxing light heavyweight champion. What was the other guy? He was Olympic gold medalist, Henry Tillman. I sparred both Henry Tillman and J.B. Williamson, the boxing champion, first day I was in the gym.
I know the
And
names.
these are not,
Yeah.
these are not guys that I'd never met them before, but no boxing champion is going to like baby you in the gym. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
In martial arts, we like to say, we have control. Like I can spar, and I do, right? Most of the people I spar are women today because I train in the boxing gym, and the boxing trainer knows the pro boxers are going to hurt these girls that come in to learn boxing. So he lets them spar me because I can throw punches and spar and give them a workout without hurting them. I have what we call in martial arts control. I can throw a hard kick or I can throw a soft kick, and I don't have to sacrifice speed for that.
Because you have control. Because you have control.
Yes,
Exactly.
because I've trained as a martial arts. Well, that's one of the reasons people ask me what the fight scenes I did were like from being a professional fighter, and I told them, listen, when you're at the highest level of kickboxing, I have control over my punches and kicks. I know where they're going, how hard they're going, and I see things coming at me a little bit better than the average person, right? So when it came to fight scenes, it was I made the transition very quickly and easily, and wasn't like I went and trained with a bunch of stuntmen or anything. They just told me what they wanted me to do, the choreographers, and I just did it.
But I'm curious about something, which is I think that I, as a stuntman, not that I'm not a real fighter, I'm a choreography fighter, okay? So I never fought in the ring, and nor did I have any professional fights or even amateur fights for that matter. But I gotten to know the fight choreography very well, and we all know that the movements have to be a lot more flashy, a lot more ample movements, bigger movements.
Of course, yeah.
That's why wushu
I
and
can't do it
taekwondo are
realistically.
great for that. Did you feel at any time that you were getting some sort of bad addiction to movements, to bigger movements that might have hurt you in the ring when all you want to be is more direct and more efficient?
Well, it's like this, and I tell people I can walk and chew gum at the same time.
Yeah.
I was in high school when I was an athlete in high school. I was the MVP of the high school football team, and I was the MVP of the high school basketball team I attended.
That's insane.
And those are two totally different sports. There's no connection between basketball and football. Basketball, you can't even touch them. Football, I was a middle linebacker. It was my job to demolish the other side.
Yeah.
You know, they put me right in the middle. I was a defensive captain. I was the MVP as a middle linebacker. You know, usually the MVP is the quarterback or a wide receiver, somebody who scores. But I scored 2 touchdowns as a defensive player. That's pretty unusual.
Wow.
Wow. I just took the ball away from them, you know, and just ran touchdowns. So, but the
So
point is,
by fumble
I was
or
an
by
athlete
interception?
from early on.
By fumble or interception?
I was an athlete from early on, and I was able to adapt from one sport to the other.
Yeah.
Basically, I weighed 205 when I was, I guess I was 16 years old. I was a senior in high school, and I had to drop all that weight when basketball season came. Because there's no such thing as a, yeah, but it was all solid muscle. I mean, I ran a 4.840, and I did, people said, well, how much was your bench? And I, you know, weightlifters. And I said, well, I did 315. I did 5 sets of 5.
What?
Which is considered pretty decent. But that was my bench when I was in high school.
Well, that's strong as hell. That's
So-
not decent. That's strong as hell. I would very much struggle to do
Well,
one
I-
repetition with that.
I had many scholarships. I ended up going to the Coast Guard Academy. But I had many football scholarships, basketball scholarships. I went to the Coast Guard Academy, though, because my year was the Vietnam era. It was 1972. And all my friends were going to Vietnam. And my brother's draft number was 2. So my older brother was gonna go. He was on his way, and you know, basically what happened was I went to the Coast Guard Academy, so I wouldn't have to go to Vietnam.
Oh,
And
okay.
all the deferments were gone for guys, unless you're Donald Trump. I mean, you get 5 of them. But if you don't have money, you get your letter, and you either go to jail or you go to Vietnam. And even to this day, you know. It was the right decision not to go to Vietnam. I mean, that country never, I don't want to get political, but that country never killed one American person. We went to war with them because it made a lot of money for a lot of companies in America. Literally.
And I remember the whole controversy with Muhammad Ali not going, and he's saying, oh, no Viet Cong ever called me a Negro.
I refuse to be inducted into the United States Army.
Right?
No, listen. He gave an interview, and I'm a big Ali fan. I've seen every documentary on.
Oh,
he
me
pointed
too.
at the audience of reporters, and he said, if I was going to fight somebody that did something, he said, I'd fight all y'all. He said, no Vietnamese didn't do anything. It's all these American white people that did something to his people.
Yeah.
But anyway, I did not want to go to Vietnam, so I went to Coast Guard Academy. So that's why I didn't go. But here's what ends up happening. We got out of Vietnam after a year. So after 1 year of the Coast Guard Academy, I got out of the academy. I did something that's it's probably hardly ever been done. In fact, I was told by the athletic director that it can't be done. But I started a sport at the collegiate level. They did not have a football team. The basketball team was already picked at the junior college. And I said, well, what other sports do you have? And he said, we have wrestling, but these are all state national champions. You can't start wrestling at the collegiate level. You're first, you know, like imagine this. You've never touched a basketball and you want to go out for the basketball team at a college university.
Ouch. No.
Well, I walked onto the wrestling. I said, I want to try out. So the coach said, okay, well, you know, here's my 190 pounder. Let me just see if you can give him a workout. And he could see instantly that I was an athlete. Even though I didn't know what I was doing, I just said, okay, how does the sport work? What am I supposed to do? You know, and I got a wrestling scholarship. He actually, I was supposed to go there. I'm sure he thought I was just going to quit the first day, but after 2 weeks, he gave me a full scholarship, and I took 4th in the state of Florida at 177 my second year. So I was the 4th best wrestler, and actually the guy who beat me went to nationals the year before.
Oh, man.
So maybe I would have gone to nationals if I didn't have to wrestle him because he was the best guy in Florida.
That's incredible.
And I took 4th place. So I went from never wrestling to 4th in the state of Florida, and I was on my way. I'm sure I would have gone to the nationals, maybe even done well if I'd stuck with wrestling. But what happened was that's right when I started kickboxing.
Huh.
So
Were you
this training of striking is not like the training of grappling.
Uh-huh. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It's totally different.
Were you genetically gifted already from the get-go as a child? Did anybody notice anything? Or was it
Well,
the actual sports and the good mentorship or coaching that you had, I don't know, at 10, 12 years old?
well, there's a saying in sports, and it's I don't know if it's 100% true. I don't think it is 100% true, but they say athletes are not created; they're born.
Uh-huh.
Champions. Excuse me, champions, and because there's when you get to the top, let's say 1% of kickboxers, there's very little difference between us. Speed, strength, flexibility, or it's and we all are the exact same weight, right? When I fought light heavyweight, it's 175. So what is it that makes one guy win 11 world? I won 11 world titles under 3 different sets of rules. Because there were, kickboxing is not like boxing, where the rules are the same all over the world all the time. The rules were different, and I was able to adapt. I would sign a contract and I'd train for 6 weeks and I'd do Muay Thai in Bangkok. Then 6 weeks later, I'd be fighting Jean-Yves Thériault, the best puncher kicker in what they call full contact style. I fought him in Montreal. I would go. That's probably what separated me, but I was able to adapt, and I think, I was born with a certain. It was the sport I was born to do, martial arts, punching and kicking, and if they'd had MMA, if they had the grappling, since I took to collegiate wrestling, having never done it, I've done some training in jiu-jitsu, and I'm sure I would pick that up just as fast.
Yeah,
I would have been great at submission, I believe.
I believe you would have been great at
I don't know
MMA.
if that answers your question. I think it's a combination, because a lot of people said, "Why did I gravitate to sports? Why did I push myself as a high school athlete to become MVP of my football and basketball team?" And it was because I grew up in the South in America. Florida is considered the South, and it was during segregation. They had white schools and black schools. So they didn't put me in the black school; they put me in the white school. But I was like the only Asian in the state of Florida.
Oh,
I mean,
okay.
Asians don't come. This was in the 50s when I first moved to Florida, and so I look very Asian, and even more so when I was. And I wanted to be accepted. And I found out early on that if you sink a 30-foot jump shot, everybody loves you.
Oh,
The white guys like you, the black guys, and my first year of high school was a historic period of American history. That was the first year they desegregated the schools. They put black people and white people in the same school. So what you had a whole bunch of black guys on one side and a whole bunch of white guys. And it turned out whenever there's a basketball game, a pickup game, it was white against black. That's what. And then where would I go though? But what ended up happening was I was so good, all the black guys would say, "Hey Wilson, you're not white. Be on our side." So I'd go play on the black team. Then the white guys would go, "Wilson, you're not black. Hey, come on our team." And so I would go back and forth. And I like to tell people now, because I've given a lot of speeches on anti-bullying and things. I said I turned a negative into a positive. I turned what is normally negative, prejudice, into a positive. I excelled in the sports because of something that was negative, that I was not accepted, but I wanted to be accepted. So I pushed myself probably a little harder than the other guys. My incentive was to feel, like I belonged
Accepted,
with some
right?
group. Accepted, correct. But I'll say this: by the time I was 18, by the time I started martial arts, that was all behind me. I was accepted. I had none of that as motivation in martial arts. In martial arts, it was just, to me, I looked at it as a sport in the beginning. So just studying martial arts. After a couple of years, they had started full contact, and my brother asked me if I would fight. He wanted to promote the very first full contact karate, is what they called it then, not kickboxing. The very first fights in the state of Florida. And he asked me if I'd fight in it. And I said yes. And people asked me, did I like it to be? First of all, I lost my first fight. And I broke my hand in the fight, so I had to get it set, and I didn't get paid enough There was no sanctioning bodies or nothing. So it cost me money, and I lost, and I loved it.
Oh.
And of course, I didn't intend to be a professional fighter. I was just going to fight a few fights and just see how it went. But I ended up fighting for 28 years. And if you do anything for 28 years,
You better be
either
good.
somebody's got a gun to your
That
head,
means you have
or
passion.
you really like it. You really like it. And I really loved kickboxing. In fact, I had a fight offered 2 years ago, and I accepted it. But my opponent wouldn't fight, so the fight didn't happen. But I will still fight. I'm so crazy. Look, Tyson's going to fight Roy Jones, right?
Oh yeah.
Pay-per-view is so big that the money they're offering me is unbelievable. Like, the fight they offered me was in Kazan, which is part of Russia, actually. It's Kazan.
Yeah.
And it was the owner of this huge, he's a Russian billionaire. He owns a huge stadium. And it was like when Ali fought Frazier in the Philippines. He wanted to just promote the fight to get publicity for his stadium and himself. Marcos got in the ring with Ali and Frazier, and the whole world knew who Marcos was. He's the president of the Philippines. No, who's the president today? Nobody knows him. I've never heard the president of the Philippines. But you know what? That guy was the most famous president in the world right after the Ali Frazier
Yeah,
fight.
they made him famous. The Thriller in Manila.
So that's the same thing. This guy knows if I fight, it's not that they don't consider me a great kickboxer. I'm 65. If I fight, it's like a freak show. It's like everybody would watch it to say, well, how good could he be? Let's see. It's like a carnival show. A 65-year-old kickboxer, fighting 10 rounds. But not for me. I'm saying for the public, it's like
they don't know. They don't know. They don't feel what you feel, right?
Nobody knows. It's never been done. It's never been done. And
exactly.
Look, I was with Mayweather last year. The president of Chechnya invited me, Floyd Mayweather, and Mark Dacascos to his birthday party.
Oh, I
So
love Mark.
we all three went. To he's a big fight fan. The president of Chechnya, and so we all went to his party. And Floyd.
It's got to be weird going to the birthday
I don't
party
want
of
to
the.
spill any beans, but I know the real story of the Conor McGregor thing. But anyway, Floyd made $200 million. Conor made $100 million. That's the kind of numbers we're talking about.
Yeah.
$200 million he made in one fight. Now,
What does your
everybody who
family
makes
say?
any money always complains about taxes. But even after taxes, he's walking away with a lot of money.
A lot of money, like a great
Yeah.
pension for like 4 generations.
Look, I'm going to explain something to you. Look, I'm a pro fighter. I watched that fight, if you want to call it a fight.
Oh yeah.
I'd call it
What
a
did you
show.
think? What did you think?
Okay, here's the thing. Conor McGregor is an athlete, exceptional athlete.
Yeah.
Trains hard. He's in great shape. He started his fighting as an amateur boxer. Now, he was a horrible amateur boxer. I don't want to say horrible, but he's not an Olympic champion. He's not a professional contender. He was just a local guy in Ireland doing a little boxing. It's like Golden Gloves boxing in America, okay? That's the level of his boxing. Now, and that's all he did. Because MMA is not boxing. Do you know what I mean? But
Exactly.
even as an amateur boxer, he learned how to throw a straight left, and he knew how to avoid a little bit, the head movement things. So the striking ability of the MMA guys are so low compared to even amateur boxers that he was able to compete and beat them. He knocked a lot of guys out. I don't think he was very good at choking guys out. I mean, I only saw a few of his fights, but he was not great as a grappler.
Yeah, as a grappler, everybody has that
So
notion.
look, when I saw the promo for him and Habib, and just the promo, I said, Conor might catch him with a punch, but if he doesn't, if he goes to the ground, Habib's going to choke him out.
Yeah.
Because there's no competition. Just having been a collegiate wrestler, when I see guys moving, I can almost predict the outcome, how it's going to be. At least to the extent of this. One guy has the advantage on the ground. Do you know what I mean? Like anybody can make a mistake, but for sure, Habib was light years ahead of Conor McGregor on the ground.
Even his striking was very.
He can beat McGregor.
Even his striking was very good. I
He's
mean,
pretty
his
good.
stand-up fighting was very good. It's like he was trying to beat Conor at his own game. He only went for the grappling later on, which I found that
Well,
was
look,
very entertaining.
I'm getting a little sidetracked because we're really talking about Conor McGregor and Mayweather. So, but here's the thing:
It's okay, no worries.
Mayweather is a master boxer, a great boxer, and yes, he was 47 years old, way past his prime. You know, your prime as a boxer is in your late 20s, probably
Yeah.
early 30s. That your best years. So he's 47 years old. He said in the pre-fight interviews, he said, "Look, I'm not the man I was in my prime." He goes, "But I'm plenty for you." And here's the thing: he got rid of Bob Arum. He promoted himself. That's how he got the 200 million.
Yeah.
Because normally they do it like this: you gross 300 million, the promoter makes 100 million, you make 100 million, and your opponent makes 100 million. That's how they split it up on this pay-per-view usually.
Yeah.
But for him, he gave Conor McGregor 100 million, and he pocketed 200 million. And here's what he had to do, though. He had to carry McGregor and put up a fight. He didn't want, because I think he wanted to do more of those, which he did. You know, he did another pay-per-view show in Japan right after that. And not pay-per-view for, it was a show in Japan. It was supposed to be like an exhibition thing. He knocked out the Japanese guy in one round, laughing the whole way. And that guy was a much better striker than Conor McGregor. So
Okay.
you want my opinion? If he had wanted to put Conor McGregor away early, he could have easily.
Okay.
But he let him go the whole fight. And in the end of the fight, the only thing that got hard for him, and it's a funny thing, but it would be hard for anybody. Conor McGregor was so stunned, he was stumbling. He did the thing we call in martial arts, drunken monkey style. If you're falling around, look, if you're falling around, you don't know where you're going to fall. How can the other guy predict where you're going to fall? And so Conor McGregor was bouncing off the ropes. He was stumbling forward. He was, and when Mayweather decided, you know, it didn't really occur to him that he'd have to chase him down to, you know, get a good one planted on him.
Yeah.
McGregor was leaning back and falling. If you just watch the last round, you'll see it wouldn't be easy for anybody to knock him out because he was stumbling around so much. You couldn't predict where he was going to go. So the referee ended up, you know, Conor was obviously not defending himself or firing back anything. So the referee just stopped the fight.
Yeah.
But it let Conor get out of the thing with respect. You know, he went 9 rounds with Mayweather, you know.
Yeah,
and
yeah,
look,
that's just a
the
lot of
fight I was
cardio, a lot
supposed
of
to have,
heart. Yeah.
I'll tell you what the fight was supposed to be. And I would have done the same thing. The fight was supposed to be with Van Damme. That's the fight offer I got. Now,
your fight against Van Damme?
Jean-Claude Van Damme has never, to my knowledge, even had one pro kickboxing match.
Oh,
but he
yeah.
lies and he says, "Oh, I'm 18-1 and I'm
World
a former
champion.
European world champion."
Oh.
Well, you know what? There's no such thing as a European world champion. I mean, the world is the earth. I'm not the American world champion. I'm a world champion. Anyway, go on YouTube and punch Don the Dragon Wilson. You come up with the town fights.
Wow, yeah, I just saw a
you
couple.
go up with Chuck Norris. Put Chuck Norris's name. You're going to get a bunch
Yeah.
of fights. Any pro fighter's got fights. Now, Van Damme claims he was a world champion. Where's his fights? Who did he fight? Where's his opponent? Wouldn't these guys be getting interviewed? Hey, how is Van Damme? And you know, how fast was he? There are no opponents. There are no promoters. There's no television. There's no YouTube fights of his. He said he was a world champion. We fight 12 rounds. Show me one 12-round fight on YouTube for Van Damme. It's all lies. So anyway, here's what I was going to do. And this is not me saying the promoter wants me to, but I would let him have. I wouldn't just knock him right out. I would let him have where he could throw some kicks, take him a few rounds, work his body a little bit, like Mayweather did.
To make it entertaining.
Respectable. I would not just let the bell ring, and my mindset is take him out as soon as I could, because I could get inside and he would go out in 1 or 2 rounds for sure.
Yeah.
You know, the guy's never had a pro fight. I'm not bragging about that. That's no bragging for any pro fighter.
No, it's like
People ask me what would the fight be like. The fight's like me fighting Van Damme is like Tyson fighting Stallone.
Exactly. Yeah.
Stallone looks great in the movies.
Great example. Great
He
example.
looks great
yeah.
in the movies.
Yeah.
And he's fit. And Damme looks great in his movies, and he's fit. He's in shape. He's got muscles. I mean, he's done a lot of cocaine, so I don't believe he's got, his core is not the same as mine. I tell you, I'm one of the keynote speakers at the biggest anti-aging convention in the world. And my anti-aging I didn't start doing the things that I do now until I was in my 40s. When I came out of retirement, I was 45 then.
Uh-huh.
And that was 20 years I've been on vitamin, mineral, protein supplements. I rebuilt my entire body. Every injury I have is gone. That's one of the reasons why I feel like fighting. And a matter of fact, a bizarre thing, it's not supposed to happen, but my eyesight is 20/20 now. I don't wear glasses anymore. I wore glasses my entire life. When I was 18 years old, I couldn't see anything. My driver's license, the last one I got, has no restrictions. In my 60s, my eyes corrected themselves.
Well, do you?
I did nothing except I've been on vitamin mineral supplements for 20 years.
So that's what you attribute it to, the
Yes.
richness of nutrients
Yes.
that you put in your body every day, like the micronutrients.
Yes, and you're never gonna hear that from any ophthalmologist. But go online.
No.
The odd thing is this: I did not get on the vitamin mineral supplements because of my eyesight. I got on them because when I came out of retirement, I was in such pain. I had a bad shoulder. I was told I needed a hip replacement, and I had hurt my knee doing a stunt in a movie. You know, for 28 years, every kickboxer in America tried to take out my right knee because that's my kicking leg.
Oh.
And I got away scot-free. I ended my career without ever getting my right knee injured. So I'm doing a stunt in one of my stupid movies, and I jump out of a tree, and I land on the ground, and I didn't know it because I'm not a professional stuntman. I should have checked the ground.
Uh-huh.
There was a root of a tree under like some dust, some dirt, and I landed on that root, and when I hit the ground, this is what I heard. It was so loud, the stunt coordinator said, "Hey, did you hear that?" I said, "Yeah, that was my knee." And your knee is not supposed to make any sounds. And I never went to the doctor or anything. For years, it was hurting. Now it's pretty good. But the reason I don't go is because I'm from the era that guys go in and get under the knife for injuries for sports, and they come back worse. And I know that is the 60s, 70s attitude. But today everybody tells me, no, Don, that's like ancient history. It's today the doctors go in there, they see what they're doing, they know it. He said they can fix your knee, they can fix your hip, but everything healed on its own. But the weird thing is,
you fighters have
they may be related.
And you fighters have a big problem, which is here. You're so iron-willed that it's like you can endure pain like I've never seen before. And I'm a stunt man. So I would say some people would call it stubbornness. I think it's iron will, right?
I'm not sure, but I know this. They did a movie called Raging Bull.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
And it was
Robert De Niro.
Scorsese and De Niro. And it's about Jake LaMotta, and it's about the qualities that made him a great boxer, the stubbornness, the toughness, made him, he lived his life like normal life, and it ruined his life.
Yeah.
Because a lot of the things you do in the ring that doesn't work in real life.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
You know, it ruins you, basically. Ruins your life. And
it's too intense.
So I'm not sure. You could be right. My stubbornness and all kinds of other weird things. But and maybe I'm the only guy that could take vitamin, minerals, and supplements and stuff and heal everything. But I have no pain I'm totally pain free. And just think of this. I came out of retirement the last time I was 45. I fought for 3 more years, won 3 more fights. Everything was in pain. If you watch my movies in the 90s, you're seeing a stunt man, me, because I'm doing my own stunts, my own fight scenes, in pain. I would wake up, lower back pain, knee, hip, shoulder. My right shoulder, when I raised it up like this, it used to make popping sounds. And that's pretty normal. But a lot of boxers, they say Sugar Ray Leonard can't raise his hand. He plays tennis, but he can't raise his hand up to hit the ball. But it's common injuries. All fighters end up with a lot of injuries.
So how do you keep
But
yourself in terms of mindset? If you don't mind me interrupting you, how do you keep yourself from going crazy, like going all out? Because sometimes you got to stop yourself a little bit. Do you have any sort of meditation, concentration work? Do you have any daily rituals that you might want to share?
yeah, the answer to that is yes. But it's this. It's not. I used to be asked all the time, "Do you meditate?" And I used to say no. But then I realized when I'm running, I would run, during my career from 74 to 84, I ran 6 to 9 miles every single day on the beach. So I'm running in the soft sand too,
Uh-huh.
So it's like, it just really works your calves. And I remember that all I did while I was running was think about all the things I was going to do to my opponent. I never thought about him ever laying a glove on me or kicking me. I only hold it. I got to let this dog out of my office.
It
Hold
sounded like
on.
somebody was
I'll be
chopping
right
an
back.
onion.
It's going to be,
It's okay.
yeah, my
It's
dog
okay.
is
Bring the
like knocking
dog.
on the door here.
Let me meet the dog.
Well, one is a Labrador, and it's huge, and the other one is a Shih Tzu. And oh man, sorry about that, guys.
What are their names?
Sandy and Angel.
Sandy and Angel. The dragon has Sandy and Angel for dogs. I thought you were gonna
Angel,
have like Bruce Lee and I don't know, Real
No,
McCoy.
no, I didn't name them. Look, these dogs. My wife got both dogs. She went and got the dog.
I figured.
One of them is a retired. The Labrador is a retired seeing eye dog, so it's a service dog. And it's
So
people
don't
ask
get
me
fooled
when I
by the
carry it
name.
around. Well, yeah, Sandy is so well trained. They claim she had $70,000 worth of training. I don't know who got paid $70,000 to train a dog, but that sounds like a pretty good job to me. But they asked me, "Does she bite?" And I said, "Look, I'm more likely to bite than her. She's better. She's better trained than me." But anyway, where were we? I can't remember what
Does
the
your-
question was now.
Speaking of your family, speaking of your wife, does your family look at your ideas of every once in a while saying, maybe I'll go back to the ring? How do they look at that? Do they say like, come on, come take it easy, let's relax, let's do a little yoga? Or are they like, okay, go
Well,
in, I'll be praying for you,
when-
I'll be there right beside you?
I went and met my wife. She was a makeup artist, so I met her on my third film, and I was no longer fighting then. My concentration was film. If I took a fight, it was only because I, couldn't resist it. The money was too good to say no.
Exactly.
And so but my mindset was not. I was fighter of the year in 1984. That was my prime year, 1984. So by the time I was doing the movies, it was 1988 was my first movie, Blood Fist. But by the time I was really full-time actor in the 90s and I would do up to 5 movies in a year. When my wife met me, I was done with the fighting. She didn't really know anything about it. She's not a martial artist. She's a makeup artist.
Oh, okay.
So she knows about the movie business, the entertainment business. She's an Emmy award winning. Excuse me, I better not forget that.
Wow. Congrats.
Yeah, but yeah, so she's really good, and she didn't know that part of my life, and I didn't experience it. But I get a fight offer. I get now that I got rid of both my assistants. By the way, all these people that I used to have, when you get one wife, they all go away. She said, "What do your assistants do?" I said, "Well, they return my phone calls, they answer my mail, they do blah blah blah." She goes, "You can do all that yourself. Get rid of both of them." And then she goes, "Well, what does your publicist do?" I said, "Well, he sets up interviews." And she goes, "Well, you can do all that stuff yourself." Yeah. So basically, what happens is you lose all your people. But the good thing is this.
There's
though,
some guidance
I
for
did
you.
buy a
There's some
house.
guidance for you.
Before buying, so we did buy this house, but I would always lease homes, and I told her, listen, I'm not a guy. I don't like to buy houses. I bought one house in Florida, and I held on to it. I didn't even live in the thing. Then I sold it. I said I don't buy homes. I just lease them. And she said, no, you should buy one. So I said, okay, well, I'm not going to support you. You buy it. So she finds a house, and I buy it. Now I'm told it's doubled in value. It's what can you buy and use for 20 years, and it's worth twice as much the day you bought it.
Wow.
I mean, it was a great thing. I'm glad now that she,
She convinced you.
convinced me to buy a home instead of just leasing them.
Nice. So you've probably had a lot of mentors. Speaking of your wife, she was indeed a mentor by guiding you into
Oh yeah,
doing
she
such
knew more
good
about
choices.
the movie industry than I did.
Yeah, and putting you on softer mode maybe because as a guy, as a fighter, maybe sometimes you wanted to go the hard way. So they're always very good for that balance that we're looking for. And I know that one of your first references was or is your brother because he was the one who started you in the martial arts.
Yeah.
But you started out with Kung Fu, right?
No, I started out in Goju because I was still in the
Goju.
Coast Guard Academy.
Okay.
Yeah, Goju-Ryu. I started with Japanese karate under a guy named Chuck Merriman,
Mm-hmm.
and that was in New London, Connecticut. It was in Connecticut, and yeah, I studied. It was the martial arts at the academy. That's why. And then when I came to Florida, people said when I left the academy, "Oh, so you thought kung fu was better than karate?" And I said, "No. If I wanted to study Goju, I'd have to pay for it. But my brother's a kung fu instructor, so I can go to his school for free." So
Okay.
that's why I studied Pai Lum Kung Fu. Now, as it turned out, it was a very open, very good style of Kung Fu. And I'm very glad that I did study it. But it's not the key to my success. I mean, I don't believe, I believe I'm the, although, Cynthia Rothrock studied Pai Lum Kung Fu as well.
Yeah.
And I think she's done pretty good as a, I mean, she was undefeated for 5 years as a forms competitor. And then she's had a great career. But that's just a coincidence. She studied Pai Lum and I studied Pai Lum, and we both ended up excelling in our own way. Because it was, like I said, a very open style. And that wasn't open style. I mean this. The grandmaster was still alive. His name is Daniel K. Pai. And he said, any technique that works is the right technique in that in that instance.
Mm-hmm.
In other words, he didn't care if it was from a different style. He kind of Bruce Lee study everything, and if it works for you, and that's the key, it's things that might work for me might not work for you as a martial artist, and you should not incorporate or spend your life trying to incorporate it into your style. The Don Wilson side kick, which is really a back kick turned sideways. It works for me, but maybe it won't work for you. And if it doesn't, you shouldn't try to do it. People shouldn't do that. Styles aren't, Bruce Lee said, I'm all styles, no style. He didn't want to be restricted to one style. He wanted to be open to all styles. So that was revolutionary in his day. But today, that's the way everybody thinks, right? We think about mixing the martial arts, studying everything. And then not everybody is more of a grappler. And, we all have our own, Bruce Lee called it your own personal style. Study everything so that you're not ignorant of it. And, you've got a choice of, like, if you don't study how to throw a left hook, you can't say, hey, I don't like left hooks. If it doesn't work for you after trying, then you say, you know what? I'm not going to go with that as much. I'm going to be more of a right cross or a jab or uppercut.
So you believe everybody.
That,
so you believe that everybody should start with a basis, with a foundation, like with a single style, and then
correct.
progress onto others.
Traditional style. And study as much of everything you can. I worked out with Taekwondo guys. I worked out with boxers. I did a lot of cross training back in the days when it was not supposedly what you're supposed to do. But I was being a Bruce Lee fan. He was in the early 70s, late 60s. He was preaching to mix the martial arts. Look, the opening of Enter the Dragon, he's fighting Sammo Hung. He submits him.
Yep.
And the gloves the UFC wears where you can grab and punch, he invented them. I mean, those are the Jeet Kune Do style. There was nothing like that before. Boxers couldn't grapple, and grapplers didn't punch each other, And he was kind of like our Einstein, I like to say, that Bruce Lee was, ahead of his time. And today, with our theories and with our sports and our, we're just catching up to him today.
Here I am, as a human being. How can I express myself totally and completely? Now, that way, you won't create a style, because style is a crystallization, I mean, that way, it's a process of continuing growth.
So if you had,
he was teaching.
So if you pick up a kid who's 5 or 6 years old and you want to put him in some martial arts, for your preference specifically, and I know that probably this answer can open a lot of fields, but there might be like 100 different answers, and they all can be correct. But for Don the Dragon Wilson, which martial art would you put that child into?
Well, it's not the art; it's the instructor. It's the instructor. It's not.
Excellent
For me,
answer. Yeah.
it's not a specific style. You'd have to line up the instructors, and I would pick the one that I feel is the most conducive to that person. And it depends on the person that's looking for it. Like if you want to be a competitor, you're 22 years old and you're in shape, and you say, you know what, I saw a karate tournament. I want to win karate tournaments. Certain instructors would be more adept at teaching you than others. And I'm not saying one is better than the other, because they're just, I have more experience in that way. Like, let's just say I used to have a Pailam Kung Fu school. Let's say you wanted to learn how to be a kickboxer. Do you think my school would be a good one to go to? I mean,
Hell yeah.
I mean, I'm teaching Kung Fu though, right? It's
Okay. You mean the
of
style? But the person. I was
gotta
thinking about the
teach
person.
boxing.
Yeah, I was thinking about the person.
Yeah. and the fact that I've got experience as a kickboxing champion.
Exactly.
But if you're just looking for self-defense, or you're just looking to stay fit, or if there's other things you're looking for, there's a lot of people that can probably do it better than me. Like, I can't say I was a great teacher of children. Matter of fact, I'm kind of a bad instructor when it comes to kids. Really,
Why?
when I teach seminars, if you want to say a seminar that I enjoy, it's not teaching 150 kids at one time. 5-year-olds and 10-year-olds. It's teaching 2 or 3 high-level kickboxers that are, let's say they're 22 years old. He just broke into the top 10.
Okay.
And he's knocking guys out, but he can't figure out how to get this combination right. And he's having a problem with his training at this level, or he's getting tired in later rounds. He wants to know what he can do. And the information I could give him is information that only I'm like one of a top 1% that would be able to give him the right information. And if, as an instructor, I feel more useful when I'm given instructions that I'm the only one that can really, one of the only ones. I don't want to say the only ones, because there's a lot of great kickboxers out there. And
So the
but we all
refinement,
have our own.
the refinement coming from the experience
It's like
that only.
It's like polishing a marble statue.
Uh-huh.
I don't want to take a block of marble, just a square block, and carve it into David. You know what I mean? I'm the kind of that would, if you already have talent, you carve something and it almost looks like David, but there's a couple of things that are wrong. And let's say I'm Michelangelo, let's say, right?
Okay.
And I can tell you how to make the eyes look more real and how to get the hair the right way. I think Dundee was that kind of a boxing trainer. He was what they call a finisher. He would take like an Olympic champion, Leonard, and mold him and become a professional world champion welterweight. I don't know how Angelo Dundee would like to get 10 kids in a room and teach them. It's the first day they've ever put on hand wraps.
Yeah. Okay.
And he's got to teach them how to be boxers. Do you know what I mean?
Perfectly.
Okay, well that's me.
No, but that's so.
I tell you,
that is such a personality trait, right? And it's such a it's according to your experience what you prefer to do. So I believe it's better to do what we are set up to do. And it's not that you couldn't teach kids, obviously, but you feel better or you prefer to do that refinement. Yeah, that's amazing.
Well, if it's more satisfying for me to teach high level. I like to be around a bunch of kickboxers, and believe me, we talk almost. It's almost like nonverbal communication.
You already know.
It's really real strange, right? Like I can tell if they're not shifting their weight correctly
properly. Yeah.
When they throw punches and kicks, it's something that other people don't even know what they're doing, or they're not getting their hip into it. Like it's a fine line. Yeah, their hip. You got to use The power, I tell people, the power comes from the floor. And most people don't understand this. The floor is just sitting there. I said, yes, that's where the power is. It goes through your legs, your body, up to your hips, to your shoulders. It's only delivered through the fist when you throw the punch. The power doesn't come from the hand. Don't look at the hand and think, oh, I got to do something with my hand. It's all the other, it's
It's a kinetic chain.
yes, yeah. Well, look, Babe Ruth, American baseball. I don't know how familiar, but Babe Ruth hit a lot of home runs. The guy looks like a butter. He's got a big gut. No, it doesn't look like he's got a muscle in his body. But look, he used his body weight and turned his hips, shoulders, and it's quick, fast. When that bat goes, that Babe Ruth, man. First of all, that ball is coming really fast. I don't know if you've ever seen. I've gone to professional. My son loved baseball. I never played it, but I went to some professional games with him. That ball comes so fast, man. Not only could I not hit it with a bat, I could be lucky if I even see that thing coming at me. But he was able to. Babe Ruth, without all the it's not about muscles. Like, I think a lot of teaching goes like this. I heard Van Damme say it. Van Damme says he can punch really hard because he does a lot of curls. He's got big biceps and triceps, and he builds his arms up. So him being not a professional fighter, I tell people this is what's the problem if you try to endorse him as a world champion kickboxer. It's like telling people this guy's a medical doctor. And he knows nothing about medicine. He knows nothing about health or diet. And then people go to him and listen to his advice on what they should do about their health. It's dangerous. And I said, that's what Van Damme did an article where he said, you got to do a lot of curls and a lot of bench press, or not bench press, but a lot of
tricep extensions and
work, building muscles.
Like small muscles.
Tries.
Oh, yeah.
So that you would have hard punches. You can punch hard. And that's exactly the opposite of how I really teach it.
Yeah, I believe so.
All of this has to be relaxed.
Yeah.
Now, it is true. If you're like Kimbo Slice, remember this guy?
That huge guy.
Right?
Yeah.
Huge arms. Now, he stands there and he just throws arm punches. Now, if he hits you in the first 10 seconds, he can knock you out. But after about 2 or 3 minutes, he's totally wasted. I don't think the guy could ever punch a heavy bag for 12 rounds. Hard, I'm saying, because he does everything wrong. Holding his breath, tightening his muscles. So there's not to say you can't throw a hard punch with tight muscles, but you're not going to throw 12 rounds of it. I guarantee you that.
Yeah.
You're not going to tighten your muscles and throw 12 hard rounds of punches. You're lucky to get through one round, 3 minutes, if you tighten all your muscles like an inexperienced fighter would do. So anyway, I prefer teaching the lessons that I'm one of the few people who have the expertise to teach. Now, but people hire me to teach seminars all over the world. And I was in Ukraine for a week teaching seminars, and every student was a kid because they felt I could motivate their youth. And they didn't really want me to get alone with a bunch of young fighters and train them. They just wanted me to inspire their youth. And I got the mentality of it. I understand the conscious thought going into it was good, and I hope I did inspire them. I told them be careful about which movies they watch because they're R-rated. But the 10-year-old kids didn't know who I was, but all the grandmasters and all the teachers, they all grew up watching my films. I'm so old in the martial art world now that I see a guy and he's like in his 50s, and when he was a teenager, when he was 16, 17, my movies were hitting the video stores. So when he was a kid, he was a big fan. Now he's got his own school. Some of them are old enough to have their own styles. It's a strange experience, but I've been around a long time now.
There's
quite a long time.
There's a great story about you as a bouncer. I believe in your first
I
evening
started
as
off
a
in my
bouncer,
club. I was 18. Yeah.
they pointed a gun at you in your first evening as a bouncer. So were you
Very
already
first night.
doing any type of martial arts?
Yes. Yeah. That's why. Of course, that's why I wanted to be a bouncer. Was
Yeah, of course,
I knew I
yeah.
could defend myself. and basically, listen. People don't go to nightclubs to fight the bouncers.
Mm-hmm.
They fight other people in the clubs. And so basically what you're doing is you're like a referee more than anything else. A referee that's got to stop the fights. And then because they might, when your guy's drunk, he wants to beat up some other guy because maybe he made a pass at his girlfriend. He turns and throws a punch at the bouncer. Well, they're not as likely to do it because they know we're hired there for a reason, right?
Mm-hmm.
We're not wimpy kind of guys, bouncers.
Exactly.
Now, I'm not saying they all have to be black belts or kickboxing champions, but I'm just saying I was a pro kickboxer. I had a few pro fights, and I was a point fighter. So, and I was a black belt. I was not a defenseless guy. And like I said, when I was in college, I wrestled for 2 years. So I could handle myself pretty well. And that was my job in college at the time. Part-time job, working at the nightclub. But, I mean, for the first night to have a guy, and that, by the way, that was the closest I've ever been to dying.
Whoa.
Because the guy that pointed the gun at me was point blank. He was right up on me, and he was mentally ill. Mm. Now, other people have pulled guns on me and knives as a bouncer, but they did it not because they were trying to rob me or anything, because they were scared. When a scared guy pulls a gun, you know what you do? You do exactly what he asks you to do. He says, "Stop right there," or don't come near me, or whatever. They're just scared. They're not trying to take your wallet. They're not trying to kidnap you, or they're scared. That's the other weapons that have been pulled on me, knives and another gun. Was people were scared, and then you just do what they say. You say, "Okay, look, just leave," or whatever. But this guy was mentally ill.
Oh.
And yeah,
so there
we
was
found
no
that out
telling
from
what
the
he can
police
do
afterwards because they end up arresting the guy, putting him in jail. But yeah, my first night, first of all, I didn't know he had the gun. I didn't see it. Basically, he came up to I was sitting on a chair in the front of the nightclub with, by the way, two off-duty policemen.
Huh.
And the owner of the nightclub. We're out in front of the club. The guy comes up and he's talking like crazy. And so we all kind of laughed. He said something that we thought was funny. And he looked really mad. And he turned around and he started going to his car. When he went to his car, both police officers said not one word to me or the owner. They both went into the door of the club. They knew he was going back to get something. It would have been nice if the police officers said, "Hey, you guys probably better come with us because this he might be going back to his car to get a gun. He's pissed off. We pissed him off, and now he's going back to his car. He's not. The way he left was not like he was going to drive off. He must have said something threatening, and then when he head back to his car, but that just shows you, they were looking after themselves. I guess since they were off duty, they had no responsibility to make sure I didn't get shot.
Man,
but anyway, yeah, he came back and pointed a gun at me and told me to sit down in my chair, which I did. Proceeded to say a bunch of crazy stuff, got in his car, and drove off. Later that night, the police ended up arresting him.
Oh,
but yeah, that's the closest I came. We wouldn't have any dragon stories right now because I was 18 years old, my first night in the job. Man. And I bet you the owner, I never asked him, but I'll bet you he didn't think I was going to come back the next night. Because when it happens your first night, you figure, man, what is this? This is a job where guns are going to be pulled on me.
Screw this. Yeah.
I'm just looking for a part-time job because I was in college at the time, right? So it's a great job because you don't get much sleep, because it's open until 4 a.m.
Yeah. So screw this. I'm going to telemarketing or something.
No, you know what? I came back. It turned out to be a great job. I ended up becoming a bartender within a few months, and then I became the manager of the club. I was the youngest club manager. And by the way, that club, Hulk Hogan used to play in a band. He used to play there.
Really?
And he had to quit. He liked the club so much, he quit, and I hired him as a bartender. Yeah, Hulk Hogan worked for me. Now, what are the odds that the highest paid wrestler and the highest paid kickboxer, because when I came out of retirement, I got 150 grand plus 12% of the pay-per-view. That's how most any kickboxers ever got. That we would work at the same nightclub. What are the odds of that? Wow. And the thing is, when I fought in Japan, I fought for the same guy that promoted his wrestling matches. Then when I came to L.A., Chuck Norris said, "Don, you got to get an entertainment attorney." He gives me a name. So I sign with this entertainment attorney. As I'm leaving his office, I look at his wall, and he's got a picture of Terry's, his name, Hulk Hogan, up on his wall. I said, "What's that up there for?" And he said, "That's one of my clients." We end up with the same lawyer in L.A. And when we worked together, it was in the 70s.
Yeah.
The odds, there are no odds because we worked in the same club. Mm-hmm. I was the manager. He was a bartender there. And a lot of people thought he would be a bouncer, but no, he was not Hulk Hogan then. He was a tall, thin bass player in a rock band.
Oh
He had the
wow.
long hair. But yeah, here's what happened with Terry. He opened up kind of like a gym during the day. He was running like a Gold's Gym kind of thing, just free weights.
So he
But it was
wasn't
not making
used.
any money.
He wasn't used already when he
No,
had a
no, no.
band.
But he was getting bigger because he had an
Uh-huh.
interest in it. He owned his own gym.
Yeah.
And one of his friends from Tampa, this was in Cocoa Beach, Florida, and he lived in Tampa before. His friend came and his friend tried out for wrestling and got accepted in this training program where they train you for 6 weeks or something, and you're in a trial period. Anyway, this guy convinced Terry to go try to be a wrestler. So Terry quit the bartending. He went to try to be a wrestler, and I believe he was called the Destroyer, but I'm not positive. But he was a bad guy, and he didn't make any money, and nobody came to see him, and he was doing bad, so he quit and he came back to work as a bartender. And this is why I tell people, if you want to do something, don't give up when it gets tough.
Wow.
We
So
don't talk now, but he's still in Florida. I'm pretty sure.
it's amazing that your life has been a roller coaster in terms of you being struck by such great stories around you as well, or really next to you. And I remember you being also
Well,
training with Bill Wallace, and he might
yeah,
have been a lot of what we were talking about, like the refinement of your technique. Probably he was the one to
I
help you with that as
learned the
well,
lead leg kicks from Bill. I learned the lead leg kicks from Bill, and
which you mastered
when I
so
moved to
well. I
LA,
love watching those. I love it.
well, I learned things from Benny Urquidez as well. So I took
Oh,
Benny Urquidez. I trained in his gym when I moved to LA.
uh-huh.
So I
The
took
jet
what I learned
setter.
from Bill Wallace, what I learned from Benny, and I added it to my style. And
Hmm.
then my own personal thing was, I more than anybody, I believe the long distance running that separated me because I won 48 fights by knockout. Well, here's an example. My last fight, I won in the last 10 seconds of the fight. I knocked the guy out at 48 years old. So my conditioning, you may be able to go with me even for 3 rounds, 4 rounds, 5 rounds, 6 rounds. I might start to take the lead, but by round 12, you're going to be getting your rear end handed to you because I won't even be breathing heavy when I was in shape. I'm saying not now. Shoot, I couldn't jog around the block probably, but but that was one of my things separated me from the other kickboxers was my defense and my conditioning. You know,
And I love the
whatever level I
smoothness.
can give you in the first round, I can give you that same level of aggression in the 12th round.
And you're
And that's
so
not the
smooth.
norm. Most fighters degenerate every round. They get a little more tired, a little more tired. But when I was in my prime, that did not happen.
I love to watch you fight because you're so smooth. It's like everything flows. It's like it's so natural. It's not like you're trying to go against yourself or trying to it's not it's explosive, but it's not, nobody looks at you and say you're the most explosive guy. You're like you have it all. You have a
No,
little bit of everything. Like
I'm
it's
not
like
Mike Tyson.
it's so three-dimensional. I love it. I love it. And your sidekick, man. Ugh, it hurts just
Well,
to watch him.
I tell people 70% of my offense and defense was a psychic. I use
A
it
sidekick.
defensively. I let guys throw the right hand, and when they throw the right hand, I lean back and
Boom.
I counter it with the
Yeah.
psychic. And that may not knock them out, but it takes so much out of them within
Yeah.
35, 40 seconds later, I throw a combination and they're on the floor. Now, people don't realize, they don't remember the sidekick hit them, in the second round, in the third round. They only see the left hook or the right cross that knocks the guy down, and they
It
think
keeps on
that was the
damaging. Yeah.
knockout.
It's like a slow burner.
Correct. It takes it out of you. You
But
know.
it's so you make it so long. I love even which one's my favorite sidekick of yours against John Cusack on the movie Say Anything.
Oh, that was in face. But
You
that, but
throw him a sidekick that I was like, oh my goodness! I hope that didn't connect.
Hey, Lloyd, someone's here to see you.
What
First
what
of
a,
all,
what a huge reaction out
when
of
I
him as well.
spar, when I spar anybody, I do not. I spar. I know. I'm not trying to hurt my sparring partners.
Of
I
course,
would never throw that technique at anybody
I know that.
because what if I landed? It's the bare. We have foot pads on the top of our feet. The bottom, it's a bare foot. It's a heel.
Mm-hmm.
I don't want to hit any of my sparring partners in the face with my sidekick.
Yeah, you feel the
Because there's
bone.
no way to pull that. When I throw it, it's gone, and if they lean forward, it's going to hit them in the face. And I have a mean streak as a fighter, which just it's not a mean streak. I finish guys. If I see that they're stunned, I move in really. I don't let them get off the hook. You don't get 48 knockouts by accident.
Yeah. You know what you're doing.
I finish them. When you stun them, you finish them, and that doesn't mean I've got a Mike Tyson punch. You don't have to. If you hit the chin and they're stunned, it's like when you wake up in the morning, you kind of a little dizzy. If I walk up and I just go, you'll be stunned.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
I don't have to throw a big punch. I don't have to put my hip into it, my shoulder. No, if you clip the chin, it's really one of the amazing things about fighting is how little force it takes to knock somebody out.
Uh-huh.
It doesn't take, unless you hit them on top of the head. I've seen Mike Tyson hit guys literally on top of the head, knock them out. Now that's a hard punch, though.
Jesus.
He's got a 10-ounce glove. He weighs 245 pounds of muscle. He's on every steroid that was ever invented. He's got every drug flowing through his system that jacks his testosterone up. And when he hits you on top of, you could be just like this. He could hit you on the forehead and knock you out. I'm pretty sure of that.
What about
if you watch some of his fights, you see, because he punched, a lot of guys say, well, how could I do against Mike Tyson? I said, I'd get knocked right out. He would knock me right out. He would come at me. I would maybe land a leg kick, and he'd get inside, and that would be it. I could not. I'm talking about young Mike Tyson when he was 21.
Yeah, it's too much.
You
power.
put on
It's a
10-ounce
force
gloves.
of nature.
First of all, he was in great shape.
Yeah.
And he had head movement. They never talk about his defense, but I'm a fighter that it's all about defense. And Mike Tyson he's fighting guys 6'6". They can't land a jab on him. Think about it. Yeah. He was like 6 feet, if that, 5'11", 6 feet, and his head movement is so good. They're 6'4", 6'6". They can't land the jab on him. And then he moves right here, gets right on their chest. Now all their reach is a disadvantage. It's literally he's fighting there. That's his range.
Yeah.
And people used to ask me when he was in his prime. They said, "Well, what do you think you could do?" I said, "Look, I could try to throw a few kicks, but I believe he'd get close, and he'd put me out within 20 seconds."
Do you believe he would have done the same thing? Do you believe he would have done
3 times on the way down?
Do you believe he would have done the same thing to Muhammad Ali? Ali versus Tyson.
It's hard to bet against Ali because he's so smart. I met him one time, but here's what Ali. I read everything about him because I'm a big fan. He said, "I am the greatest," and he said the reason I could say that is this: anybody I fight 10 times, I'll win 6 out of 10. So he's not saying that Mike Tyson wouldn't catch him one, knock him out.
Uh-huh.
And I believe that because I believe he's a much smarter fighter than Tyson. Tyson has one way to beat Ali: get inside, land the bomb. Ali can win many different ways. But with the jab, catching him with the right, tying him up, doing all. I think, if you look at it, I'm not saying that if they fight, absolutely he's going to win because that's not the way you can, in my opinion, you can really establish who is the better fighter overall. One fight.
Of course. Yeah. I wanted to ask you something, which is we got to talk about the movies a little bit before I let you go. Chuck Norris got you started, or at least he gave you the idea of being in the movie business. How did that come about?
Well, sort of. Actually, what it is this: other people had suggested it, but I didn't take it seriously. Because anybody can walk up to you and say, you should be in the movies. But that doesn't. But when Chuck Norris, who you respect as a martial artist and actor, that he was doing movies for a company called Cannon Films. So he was not. It was way before Walker, Texas Ranger. I met him in the 70s. But he movies, and he was very successful. When he says, "Don, I think you should try to capitalize off your martial arts fame, try to get in the movie business. You should move out to LA, get an agent, and try it." Then I took it seriously, because he was in the business. And when he advised me, I took it more serious. Everybody else, I just said, yeah, maybe I'll be an actor someday, maybe, but I didn't really think about it seriously. I was a kickboxer. There's a lot easier ways to be an actor than fighting for 28 years as a kickboxer.
Yeah. That takes too much trouble. No,
In other
no.
words, if you ask me how can I become an actor, I wouldn't say, well, you need to start kickboxing. Start running 6 miles every day, sparring, lifting weights, and travel around the world fighting everybody you can fight. And then after 20 years of that, go out to Hollywood and make your film career.
What are what are your favorite movies that you've done? Blood Fist for sure.
Red Sun Rising is one.
Oh, yeah.
Well,
With James Lou.
Because it was my first. Yeah, I got it. But Red Sun Rising probably overall it was the closest to me.
Oh.
So a lot of people were saying, "Oh, wow, you did a great job of acting." That one required very little acting. It was about a half Japanese guy who dealt with prejudice, but it was just the opposite though. Basically, he dealt with prejudice in Japan because of his white blood. And anyway, so it was a character that I didn't have to wonder each scene how my character would react. Do you know that? Because that's what we have to do. And look, I'm not a character actor. In other words, I don't have to go way outside the boundaries of my normal self. And John Cusack is one of my good friends because ever since I trained him for Say Anything, and he said to me, Don, in the kind of roles you're going to do, these action movies, he goes, you can pretty much do the what if style of acting. And I go, what do you mean? He said, if you ever want to know how to play a character in a scene, just go, what if this happened to me? Because he knew being the leading man, quote, I'm like the audience. I'm more like, I can't be the extreme guy. I can't be the Christopher Walken weird guy. I can't go to the Joaquin Phoenix Batman Joker kind of. I don't go to the extremes. I surround myself with actors who do that. So those kind of characters may appear in my movies, but people don't expect it to be me. They expect me to be kind of like the everyday kind of guy, which I guess I must be.
You are. I believe you are as an actor. I feel that as audience, you're playing it cool, but in a way that's very believable. It's like he is what he is. I mean, he's not over the top. He's not overreaching.
You said the key
no
word,
overacting at all.
You just have to be believable.
Yeah.
Don't start with me, Johnny. I've seen you fight.
It's not the same.
I don't have to become Rain Man. You know what I mean? Like
yeah.
Yeah, I don't have to become the Joker.
And then
that's a different kind of acting. What's that?
And then Red Sun Rising. I mean, having such great actors to work with, like Mako. Mako was great.
Well,
right?
listen. It's they compare it like this. I did take acting lessons for many years. It's like playing tennis. If you get Bjorn Borg or Jimmy, you get some great tennis player. He can't show his best stuff if he's going against a high school kid. He can't show it. He has the ability to go further, but he can't go further than his opponent or the guy playing tennis with him. Now, as an actor, when I did Red Sun Rising, I'm working with experienced actors, all of them. I mean, Michael Ironside, Mako. Mako's an Academy Award nominated actor.
Yep.
Yeah, Mako.
He's amazing.
And he was great. It was well written. First of all, Chris Penn is my best friend in LA. Rest in peace, Chris. Yeah. But he said, Don, it's got to be on the page, and then you've got to have a director. Because I asked him, how do you get better performance? How can I help myself get better performance? It's got to be in the script. Then it's the casting of the other person because they've got to bring it out of you. Chris used to do movies. He worked with guys, the better shot. He worked with Christopher Walken. He worked with Robert Downey Jr. He worked with Tom Cruise in all the right movies. It was like a high school football movie.
I love that movie.
Chris
I know
Penn
the movie. Yeah.
A-list level. So if I was working at the A-list level, I would look better. My acting would have to match them. They would bring it out of me, if you know what I mean. I'm not saying I can go. I'm not. I had a director once. He was trying to direct me in a scene. I said, "Look, I'm not Robert De Niro." I said, "I got about 2 or 3 ways I can." I said, "I got about 2 or 3 ways I can play this scene." Because he wanted me to go out on all kinds of limbs and everything. And I said, "Look, I better if I just,
What was
And
the
he looked at
toughest
me, and
movie for
he's a
you?
director. He's a great director, by the way. He's very good. He laughed and he said, Don, you're right. Just come and do it the way you were doing it.
What was the toughest movie for you? Or one of the toughest that might come to mind? Maybe
Well, I can
Bloodfist?
tell you that. No, it's a movie called. It's got two names because it was distributed foreign and distributed domestically by two different distributors. It was called Inferno and Operation Cobra, and it was shot in India.
Mm.
I shot it in India, and man, listen, I got nothing bad to say about the Indian people and everything. It's just the conditions were so tough. It was the hottest part of the world, India, at the time, Madras, India. And the studio we were shooting in had no air conditioning. And I didn't know it, but the producer was from India. The reason why he picked that time to shoot there is he could get the studio cheap because no one else shoots then. All the Indian producers and actors and directors know we can't shoot during these months because it's way too hot. Look, imagine doing this. You got fans blowing, right? And I've got 3 shirts for every scene with action because they're going to be covered with sweat. I would do one take, it'd be covered with sweat. They'd take the shirt off, put it on the fan, then put a dry shirt on. I'd do the second take that, put it on. By the time I got to the third shirt, the other one would be dry, and I'd put it. And I did for 6 weeks, and that was the toughest movie to do. It was. Look, everybody was sick. Everybody was getting, and when I say sick, when you eat food, it's not, the food is great there, by the way. It's just that their water has organisms that we're not used to. And it's like going to Mexico and getting Montezuma's revenge, they call it. When their bacteria gets in your system, you're sick. You can't keep anything down. Anything you do eat goes right through you. And we all got that. The female lead was named Tawny McClure. Her father was Doug McClure. He's an actor in America. But anyway, she worked her scenes from a hospital bed. She was literally hooked to IVs to keep her hydrated. Then she would get in an ambulance. The ambulance would take her to the set. She would do her scene, get back in the ambulance, and go back to the hospital.
Man.
Unbelievable. Yeah, it was one of the actors. His name is Evan Laurie. Came back, and I don't know if he got it there, but he came back to America and he started another film. It was a submarine movie. He was doing a scene in a submarine, and he started feeling sick. And he passes out, and they take him. He goes to Cedars-Sinai, and he has a heart attack, and they have to restart his heart. He said he had a whole sore shoulder. I didn't talk to him, but this is what people told me. And he had the flesh-eating bacteria in his shoulder. And they basically had to cut it all off. They just, they don't, no antibiotics not his shoulder, but all the muscle that was infected had to be amputated.
So they cut his arm in
I
half,
mean,
basically, like chipped away.
He could have got it here in LA. But that's kind of scary,
That was Inferno. That was literally Inferno. That was a literal inferno.
Well, I never thought of it that way, but it was all,
I mean, it's not nice to say, but I got that impression right away.
But look, here's how I got the news. I get a phone call late at night, too. It was from the director of the movie. You don't get phone calls. It's not working hours like 10:30. I get a call, and the director says, "Hey, Don, how's things going?" I said, "Everything's going good." He said, "Well, how do you feel?" And I said, "What do you mean?" He said, "Physically." And I said, "I feel great." I said, "Why? What you?" He goes, "Well, Don, I'm not supposed to be telling you this, but Evan is in the hospital." And I said, "He's in the hospital for what?" And he said, "Well, he's got the flesh-eating bacteria, and he had a heart attack on the operating table and all that." And he said, I said, "Well, what were his symptoms?" And he said, "Well, he started feeling kind of like achy in his muscles." And as he's telling me the symptoms, I'm feeling them all over. I said, my back feels kind of achy. He said, yeah. He's like he was getting a little bit of cramp. I said, I think I got a cramp in my calf today. And I was every symptom he said, a little heat. I said, it feels a little hot to me. My arm feels kind of warm.
Yeah, of course.
Shows you I'm very psychosomatic, I guess. As he's telling me the symptoms, I'm getting every one of them.
Every one of them. Did you get that with COVID already? I got that with COVID like right away. It's like, oh my God, I have COVID. Oh my God, I have COVID.
Before I was filming a movie when they started the travel bans. Trump started the one in China and whatever, and they eventually they stopped a lot of countries from coming. So we were shooting the movie in Almaty, Kazakhstan, and so the American actors, me being one of them, we said, "Listen, we got to leave. I'm sorry. I know I'm signed up to do this movie, but I got to leave because if they're going to shut me down and I have to live in Kazakhstan." I said, "I got to get back to the America." So they did. The producer said, "Okay, fine." We shut everything down, flew back to LA, and then we've been in lockdown all this time. And now my wife is a makeup artist. She has a TV series. She does TV. That's why we don't work together anymore. But her TV show's back online filming. So I believe we're going to start the movie again. And the producer's telling me he's going to try to make it to where my scenes can be finished in LA. So we'll be trying to find fake places that look like Kazakhstan, because I shot a bunch of stuff in Kazakhstan already, and the movie is supposed to take place. But I don't know when it's going to be. But that's. That's where we stand now. Is I got to finish that movie, and then people ask me, do I have projects coming up? And I've got movies and things. People are always talking about scripts and things, but my real heart is in TV. And I throughout my career, I've been offered 4 TV series, and one I said no to. I myself, I didn't want to do it, and one they canceled. They not canceled. They just decided to do it without me. So they canceled me out of that series. Shot in Hawaii, by the way. And then the other 2, one is the Trump trade war with China, because it was supposed to shoot in Beijing. It's basically a Chinese producer named Henry Luck bought the rights to Blood Fist from Roger Corman to do a TV series. So I was going to have to film in Beijing, but because of the trade war, that got stopped. And now because of the pandemic, what actor's going to go over there? Everybody's scared. And the other one is in Almaty for Netflix. It's a series would be for Netflix, and they're all on hold now because of the pandemic. So, they're and really, while I have some film offers, and I've got a script that I'd like to do. It's my version of The Expendables, but with a twist, because the twist is we're a group of former SWAT unit guys that are retired. And we have to fight a bunch of vampires. So it's not like the Expendables fighting vampires. You know how it'd be like the Expendables going in and fighting Predator. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Like a crossover.
So all the B-movie karate guys are all written into it. So Expendables is all the A-list guys all in one. I mean, you got Jet Li and Dolph and Arnold and
Statham,
Bruce Willis, Schwarzenegger, Harrison Ford, Antonio Banderas, everybody. Van Damme was in it, right?
Yeah.
Well, this is going to be the same way, except we're going to be fighting vampires. So that puts a twist on it, And I found this out because I did a vampire movie way before Blade, before Wesley Snipes did it. I did a movie called Night Hunter.
Night Hunter,
and Night Hunter,
I remember.
You watch it. You can watch them on YouTube. They're on YouTube. They're free. People just post them. It was before Blade. I was the first martial artist to use kicks and punches and stuff against
vampires.
Vampires. Yes, and this one, basically, this since I'm older, I'm a trainer at the SWAT unit or at the police academy, but I was a head of a SWAT unit. So I've got some of my guys who were doing a drill with some young cadets, and there's a terrorist attack downtown LA. So we all go into the police station. The real SWAT unit goes to handle the terrorist attack, but it's not a real one. It's a staged one because there's actually a bank robbery in progress. And we get the hostages taken. So the SWAT unit's not there. They're all trying to take care of the terrorist attack at downtown LA. So we load up a van and we go there to rescue these hostages in the bank robbery. And we chase the bank robbers into a building. When we get in the building's full of vampires.
Wow.
And so what ends up happening is the SWAT unit and the bank robbers join forces to fight. Because now it's humans versus vampires. And as bad as the bank robbers are, they're badass. Because they're all going to... both groups are going to be like the SWAT unit's going to be all us B movie guys, Michael Dudikoff, Richard Norton, Cynthia Rothrock, but the bank robbers are also going to be B movie actors that you've seen. You know,
it's a very attributed story or plot line.
well, I ripped it off,
But it's all in the execution, which I'm sure you guys can
Oh
pull it off.
no, the action.
It's
the
all in
action's
the
gotta be good.
execution. Yeah.
Correct. And the thing is this: the Quentin Tarantino did a movie called Dust to Dawn.
Uh-huh.
That movie starts off with a bank robbery happens, something happens, and they try to go to Mexico. And it's a normal movie. There's nothing that would ever tell you it's a horror film. Then the last scene, they're in a bar, and at midnight, all the people in the bar turn into vampires.
Okay. So
This
you want
is the
that
same
sort
way. This
you
is
want
a
that kind of
normal
twist.
movie.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's right. It's a nobody's going to be. There's no tongue in cheek. There's no comic relief. It's a normal movie until we get in that building, and it's like Predator. We're going through, and I'm talking to guys and then one guy's not answering. I go, "What the hell happened?" And we find his body there, and his arm is torn off. And do you remember when Schwarzenegger in the Predator? He goes, "Gorillas don't do that. You know, these guys
Oh, I
don't do
don't
this.
remember the
You know, the
line.
guys." Yeah. I think they were fighting gorillas. You know, but the guys were skinned.
Whatever it is out there, it killed Hopper. And now it wants us.
And this is going to be the same way. We're going to find a cop dead, and his arms are ripped off, his head's chopped, or something. You know, it's going to be something that these vampires did
So
that
it's like robbers don't
bank
do this.
robbers don't do.
Don't do this.
Right. When you rob a bank, you shoot the cop. Look, he was shot. He's already dead. Why would they pull his head off? Why would they tear his arm? You know, and the bank robbers same way. And it's you know, it's a good script. It's a good script. It was written by a guy, by the way, that he was a TV writer. He wrote for a TV series.
Mm-hmm.
And he contacted me and he said he always wanted to do, he's a martial artist as well as TV writer.
Mm-hmm.
He said he always wanted to do an action film, but he never got the opportunity. I said, look, I got an idea about doing this vampire movie. I just pitched it to him, the basic idea, and he gave me the script back, and it was really good.
Yeah, you worked on that.
And so far, I've been offered to produce it twice by producers. First one offered a certain amount of money, and I've never made a movie for that little money, and I didn't want to take a chance because you know this for me. This is going to be a big money maker. I think it could be sequels to it.
I certainly believe
the name
so.
of it's Blood Rain.
And I think there's being a lot of subculture of the B movies and the martial arts movies, and now you got Scott Atkins doing also a great podcast with a lot of the action stars. So I believe there's gonna be a little bit more research in terms of those movies that a lot of us grew up watching for the youngsters.
Bringing
right
things
now.
back is not a bad thing. Like the Karate Kid.
Exactly.
The old fans, of course, we like it, but the new people watching it, you know, also the newer kids, because you can't just count on the old fans. You know, you got to have new fans.
Exactly.
And yeah,
and it's great stories.
But
When
that's
it's a
why I
great
think this is
story,
gonna
it
work,
works.
you know? Yes.
When it's a great story,
and
it works.
I believe in this one. You know, it's not Gone with the Wind. It's not Academy Award nominee.
Exactly.
So
Yeah.
I'm not expecting to get any awards. My films don't get awards, but they make a profit. You know, I tell people I've got a better record as an actor than I do as a fighter, and they go, "What do you mean?" I said, "I'm 30-0. I started 30 films. They all made a profit." Now, very few actors can say that every single movie they started. Now, of
Who
course,
could go
they don't
against
make
that?
the movies as low budget as mine. Mine are very low budget. And so the bar is not set way up there. It's not. I don't have to gross 100 million.
Great margins. It should go on Shark Tank.
Yeah.
That's great. So
well, look, you know, I was trained by. I did 12 movies with Roger Corman, and they call him King of the B movies.
Mm-hmm.
And he really taught me how to make these movies fast and cheap as possible. And you know, when I get a named good actor. I pay them for one day, and they can end up throughout the whole movie because I have a camera and a crew and everything just for their shots. And I did that for a movie I did for the Sci-Fi Channel. It's called The Last Sentinel. But anyway, we had an actor. I don't want to say his name because he only worked a couple of days, but he's throughout the whole movie, and that's the way you have to do it. He would have been way too expensive if he had to work, 2 weeks, let's say, right? But to come in for one day and all his stuff is done in one day. Matter of fact, we put the thing in his ear so he didn't even have to memorize the lines. You know, we would give him, you could feed him the lines, through, he could hear them.
So he's an A-lister, and you use them to get a little bit more credibility or to boost up the movie. Yeah,
he was in the movie that won the Academy Award. He was in Crash, one of the actors in Crash. Yeah, and the movie The Last Sentinel is no Academy Award. but it was good for the Sci-Fi Channel. They really liked it and performed really well.
The Last Sentinel.
You're not big on the whole personality thing, are you?
I would love to finish with just quick fire questions to get you know you a little better. It's been an hour and an hour and a half, so we're gonna wrap this up.
I don't even know.
Which sound or noise do you hate? That is the first question.
A sound that I hate. Yeah, I think the same one everybody hates. The scratching of the
board.
Chalkboard.
The chalkboard. You.
Scratching. And I haven't heard it since I was in high school, probably. But I mean, that's kind of a sound you don't like.
Stuck with you. What is your favorite word?
Win.
I didn't see that one coming. Least favorite word.
Yeah, well, when you're a fighter, you got a win-loss record, right? I don't know. Winning is.
What is your least favorite word? Lose?
Yeah, I think might as well stick with my theme.
Yeah. What's the best food for you? Food. Which food? What type of food do you like?
Romaine lettuce.
Romaine lettuce?
I eat complete bowls of it. When I was at the boxing gym training, the guys in there are like 20. They're in their teens, and they go, Mr. Wilson, what do you have for lunch? Because look, when I go in the gym, I look at the clock, not the buzzer. 3 minutes on, 1 minute rest, 3 minutes on, and I just punch the bag and kick the bag for like 45 minutes, 50 minutes, an hour. I don't go 3 minutes and then. So I'm doing it like an aerobic exercise. So these guys, they're 18 years old. They can't do that. And
so that's your type of workout right now? That's what you do right now?
Yeah, right now.
Okay.
Right now, yeah. And I run at the park 6 miles. I run around the park. It's 0.6. I run 10 times around the park. Shadow boxing and it's not just I'm not a runner. I'm not a long distance runner. I'm a fighter. So I do it like a fighter does. I'll go sideways. Yeah, I'll speed up, sprint a little bit. Yes. It's too boring the other way. Anyway, just do the same thing. And I wear headsets with music. So when the music picks up, you'll see me pick up when I'm running. But anyway, but I'll eat a whole head. I've got a big bowl. Lettuce. I'll eat the entire meal is just the lettuce. I make a Caesar salad out of it.
Wow.
And
okay.
Yeah, I don't know what it is in there, but I like crave. And then I throw in sunflower seeds. I throw in raisins. I make it it's kind of a weird thing. Whatever I have around the house ends up going in there.
You throw
it
there.
It's not in a bowl. It's a big container. It's one of those bowls that you use to make food.
That is certainly very healthy. So, what are your favorite movies? Some of your favorite movies?
Mine?
In general.
The ones I made?
No, other than your
But not the one. Oh. Enter the Dragon would be one that I couldn't top when it comes to fight act. Well, not the way the action was shot, because Bruce Lee was really the stand. It was Bruce Lee, So Enter the Dragon.
And other than martial arts movies, what type of DVDs do you pop up, or I don't know? If you are to watch a movie, where are you gonna watch? On a Saturday night. I don't know.
I like sci-fis. I watch sci-fi. When I run out of sci-fis, there are movies that I've seen over and over and over, like War of the Worlds. I watch, just all the big budget ones, and even I watch film shorts made by film students.
Mm-hmm.
I watch, time travel ones, or just various science fiction. What
Okay.
I tell you, I saw one the other night on a fluke, and I about 2 nights ago, I woke up for no reason at like 2 a.m. Turn on the TV because I can't sleep, and I go to HBO, and they're playing a thing called, I believe it was called Contagion.
Oh, I know
And
the
it's
one. Yeah.
exactly, it was made back in the 2000s. It's about a monkey that gets a virus that gets into people.
Oh yeah.
Not a
Everybody
monkey,
was
a
posting that
bat,
movie because of the
a bat, and
COVID. Yeah.
they wore the masks, and it was like what we're going through now. You know, so when politicians tell you nobody could have predicted this, Hollywood screenwriters predicted it 10 years ago,
Yeah.
over 10 years ago.
There was contagion
So don't
before
tell
they
me
didn't
that
know.
scientists didn't know. Yeah, it's like we could. Nobody could have predicted this would happen. That's like when remember when 9/11 happened and Bush said nobody predicted that they could use planes as weapons, but yet the Israelis had security people on every airplane. Of course, they knew that the mentality of a terrorist was to die with the, they would die in the process of getting their
Yeah.
revenge,
Their
or whatever.
ideals, their revenge. Yeah.
Well, listen, the Japanese pilots were not given enough fuel to attack the Americans because they did some sneak attacks because the Americans thought, well, we're out of range. They don't have enough fuel to come and go back. So Americans wouldn't send our pilots, right? We would never do that. We wouldn't send a pilot to attack a ship if we knew it was so far away that they couldn't make it back, right?
Yeah. Final question. What other career besides yours would you have liked to try? So none of those that you were talking about.
Engineering, because that's
Engineering.
what it was my major, and I liked it then. I did like it, and I was on my way to becoming an engineer, and I would be working at the best place in the world, which was Kennedy Space Center, because that's where my dad worked. He was at NASA, and he worked for McDonnell Douglas there, and so I had the in. You know, you can't get it. I just had to go through 2 more years of school, graduate. My dad would have hired me, and I'd be working at the Space Center. And that was the place to be because Kennedy was the president at that time. And when I was a little kid. And, he put all the emphasis on the space program. Instead of, we didn't have an arms race. We had a space race. Russians were trying to beat us to the moon, and we were trying to beat them to the moon. And
Yeah, that was the main focus back then until 1969.
yeah, that was my growing up in the 60s. Yeah, and my dad worked at the Space Center, so that was the other career I was. If I had not been but I can tell you this: what would have happened was this: I would have been very bored. I wouldn't have had as much
I
fun.
thank God Almighty that you did not do it because otherwise we probably wouldn't be here talking. Because I can't talk to an engineer. What am I going to say to him?
There would never been a sidekick. That was
exactly.
That's my main thing.
Exactly.
Hey,
so
you know what? This is what's going on right here with me.
Oh,
can you?
Is that Sandy
sorry?
or is that Sandy or what's the name of the other one? Joy?
Sandy.
That's Sandy.
This is.
Is she licking your leg?
What time is it? Do you have the time? Do you have the time? What time is it?
I think so. Wait. I have the Portuguese time. I have no idea. So it's.
I don't have it on
here.
my phone.
It's 1:14 a.m. here, so it's probably you guys have 8 hours less. So you're the engineer. You do the math.
I have no idea. Well, you know what? We started at 3. Her dinner time
5:15
is 6. So it's 5. So it's close.
It's 5:15.
That's what it is.
5:15.
She thinks it's dinner time.
No.
She's trying to tell me.
I'm letting you off the hook. I just want to say something. Thank you so much for this. This was an incredible ride. And I also wanted to say that you got me to tears today. Yes, it was today because I saw one of your latest fights, I believe, with a guy called Branco. And one of the people in the audience.
Oh, yeah.
And one of the people
Branco,
in the audience was Chris Penn, and he was like crazy.
Yeah.
When you beat up the guy, when you KO'd him, he was like, bah! He was so happy. There was Stephen Vincent Lee next to him.
Now he was my best friend.
Exactly.
Wilson, a left to the body. Good right. Seven, 8. Roy Corbin looking into his eyes. His His foot on the rope.
I think they're trying to buy time.
And Wilson really mad. Wilson picking his spots, uppercuts. He's got Sikicic reeling into the corner, over the top. They throw in the towel. It's over. It's over.
So I saw that and I was like, man, it got me to tears thinking of what happened, obviously, with him going down the bad road.
To him.
Oh, Jesus! And
I talked to him. I called him. Basically, Sean made me the lead pallbearer at his funeral. That's the last thing I did was I carried his coffin to the graveyard. And he said he checked the phone records and I was the last guy he talked to. So everybody wanted to know what was his mood. And I said he was in the best mood since I've known him. And they said, why? And I said, I was on a movie set doing a movie and I got a producer that was working with me. He was so happy with the way my movie was going that I told him about Chris's pet project. He had a movie that he had already written the script to that he wanted to direct, but nobody would finance it. It's a Vietnam movie, but not a war movie, though. It's about a Vietnam soldier who has a daughter in Vietnam he doesn't know about and just finds out he has to go back and get her out of Vietnam. But anyway, I got the producer to say he would finance Chris's movie. So I didn't care. It was late at night, but I didn't care because I called him up to tell him the good news. I said I got the money for his movie that he had dreamed about. He wrote it when he was in high school, the first draft. So that's how long he's been wanting to make this movie.
Oh, wow.
And so he was in the best mood of his life. And he hung the phone up and he died that night in bed. Had a heart attack. Now, people ask me, well, what was a drug overdose? I said, no, it was a combination of things. He weighed 310 pounds. He had gotten fat, eaten bad food. He was an alcoholic, so he's drunk every day. And he had the flu. So I know this. His doctor prescribed him a codeine-based cough suppressant. Chris doesn't put it in a spoon and measure it. He would just take it and guzzle it. And I know that he took too much. He was tired. He had been working all day. He was telling me he was exhausted and everything. He loved the great news. So it was a combination of things.
Yeah.
And he did abuse drugs. He did a lot of cocaine in the 80s. And what that does is it damages your heart.
Yes.
He had an enlarged heart from the cocaine. So it was a combination of things. And then that's why he died. And I tell people, I learned a life lesson, though. If you have something you want to do, don't put it off. Because nobody's guaranteed the next day. You know, Chris wanted to make this movie his whole life since he was in high school. And he finally got a chance, but he didn't. He didn't live long enough to make this movie that he wanted to do. And it was a sad day. And me and Charlie Sheen were, cause he introduced me to Charlie. I met Chris and Charlie Sheen the same day. But we went to his grave the year afterwards because, there was a funeral and everybody was there. But the year afterwards, his closest friends got together and we went back to the funeral and we said a secondary goodbye to Chris. And it's
just you guys. Yeah, that's amazing. Yeah.
Anyway,
what a great advice and what a great message to finish with, because that's
don't
what's
put
most
things
important.
off. Yeah,
it's some positive talk from the dragon himself. So thank you so much, sir. Once again, I'm so glad we did this, and I'll see you soon.
Yeah, well, thank you. It's my pleasure. Like I said, I lost track of time.
Me too. So
and this is not my normal interview anyway. You have a different style and the different questions, and
I prefer to see it as a talk. I love the talk aspect of it. I love you being here and answering the phone and then coming back to the question. I mean, it's a real conversation between two human beings. It's not just everything all edited. I like to be a little bit raw. What?
Well, it's live. This would be live.
Live.
Phone calls, dogs. This would be a live kind of broadcast. So it does have that element of surprise.
I love that.
And what I just noticed? You got Bruce Lee right behind you.
Oh, yeah, of course.
You got Bruce Lee right behind you, yeah.
Yeah.
Just noticed it.
Yeah, see, check it out.
Anyway, thank you.
This is my studio. Say hi to Sandy for me.
Yep. Thank you. Bye-bye.
See you, Don. Thank you so much. See you soon.